Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another video of Transfer Portal CFB presented by NoContextCFB. Today, talking upset. Let's predict the massive upset that will happen in week 1 of the 2022 college football season. The date is September 3rd, 2022. We're going to Iowa City, Iowa. The victim, the Iowa Hawkeyes. The culprit, the Jackrabbits of South Dakota State. South Dakota State is going to go into Iowa and beat Iowa. Mark my words, or record this and make me look like an idiot in a few weeks if it doesn't happen. But right now, I truly believe that the Jackrabbits will beat the Hawkeyes. The reasoning for this game, I mean, there's several reasons. I think they have a loaded offense. I think their defense is more than capable of preventing Iowa from putting up points. There's a lot to like. Head coach John Steigelmeier actually enters his 26th season as the head ball coach at South Dakota State. He states that this is the most skilled offense of his tenure. It's going to be his 34th consecutive season on staff at South Dakota State. And he's saying this is the best offense he's ever had. Take a look at these graphics. Look at some of the notable players that he's coached over the last few years. Look at some of these high-powered offenses in the last few years. The Jacks play dang good offense, and it's just crazy to think about what this offense could do. It's truly his best ever. So let's take a look at the firepower on this Jacks offense. You've got QB1 Mark Gronowski, who threw for 1,565 passing yards. He threw 15 pass touchdowns. He only threw 3 interceptions, 93 carries for 663 and 7 rush touchdowns. He's coming off of injury, but he's back. He's ready to show that he's one of the top quarterbacks in the country. This is a dynamic dual threat quarterback that has that kind of Tebow toughness on the ground, but he's as precise of a passer as there seems to be at the FCS level. He's a guy that's going to get looks from the NFL. Gronowski's a very good quarterback that hasn't come close to hitting his ceiling. He's going to keep the Jackrabbits offense as potent as ever in a hostile environment against a good defense in Iowa. Gronowski's going to be one of the key players, of course, because he plays quarterback. He's going to live up to the hype that I'm saying for him. Guy's going to have a great game. At running back, the Jackrabbits have a nice 1-2 punch, despite losing Pierre Strong Jr. to the NFL draft, who I was so high on. Isaiah Davis returns for this guy who had 95 carries, 709 rushing yards, 7 rush touchdowns, runs with tenacity. He's got the juice. When he gets to the second level, he's as good as gone. This is someone that is just super difficult to tackle. He throws people off him all the time. He had a absolutely incredible touchdown run from like 65 yards in the national championship game in the spring of 2021. He's a gamer. He's my number 2 running back in the FCS. At RB2, you've got Amar Johnson, 86 carries, 450 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. He's more of that Pierre Strong kind of back, and I'm excited to see what he'll do with a bigger role this season. But you've got to look at the receivers, your number 1 and 2 options at wide receiver. Couple of fellows that go by Jackson and Jaden Yonke, twins. The Jackrabbits have twin receivers that are incredible. Jackson had 72 catches for 1,176 receiving yards, 5 receiving touchdowns. With Jaden, you're getting more touchdowns, 9 receiving touchdowns on 41 catches for 655. Both these guys are incredible. I remember watching both of them just tear it up at Colorado State to kick off last season. They're 2 guys that really are probably top 10 receivers in the FCS, in my opinion. You've got to watch them play. There is an absolute joy to watch. Now, moving on to probably the best prospect that South Dakota State has. Tucker Kraft at tight end 1. 65 catches, 773 receiving yards, 6 receiving touchdowns last season. He broke out onto the scene with that. This year, who knows what he's capable of? This is someone that Dane Brugler ranks as his tight end 3 going into the 2023 NFL draft. I rank Kraft as my 4th best tight end in the whole country right now. I can't wait to see where I end up ranking him when it comes to the NFL draft talk. But this is a guy that moves super well after the catch. One thing he does need to work on is his run blocking ability. But he's told me He's really looking to work on that, and he's going to show that this season. So look out for Tucker Kraft to have a monster year, but a massive game in performance at Iowa. Then you're looking at tight end too, Zach Hines, 24 catches, 232 receiving yards, but 6 receiving touchdowns. Just an absolute force in the red zone that you need to keep an eye on. He's going to give the Iowa Hawkeyes potentially some really tough fits. And then you just look at this offensive line. These guys ran for 5.8 yards per carry last season. The Jacks did on the ground. That's a dominant ground attack that's always moving people in the trenches, and they're creating gigantic running lanes for their talented ball carriers. I already told you about their talented 1-2 punch at running back. Now, for perspective, the FBS lead for yards per carry last year was 5.7 by Coastal Carolina. So the Jacks at 5.8, they ran better. By 0.1 still. But left guard Mason McCormick, he's a back-to-back Hero Sports first-team All-American, mauler in the trenches. And then you've got Garrett Greenfield at tackle. He's made 6 different first-team All-Americas in his career. These are 2 tremendous talents on the offensive line that really could be playing FBS ball. So there's so much to obsess over with the Jackrabbits offense. And while they might be going to play in a hostile environment against a really strong Iowa defense, I have no fear. I have no doubt that this offense is going to go out there and score and play well and do their thing. They're not afraid. On the defensive side of the ball, jeez, they allowed just 19.7 points per game last season. Their rushing defense is very stout. They have a nasty front seven. You're looking at guys like Caleb Sanders and Reese Winkleman who are in the trenches, and they combined for 26 tackles for loss, 12 sacks. They're just a huge presence down there. And while they might be playing a Big Ten opponent, their presence will be felt in the trenches against what was a very weak rushing attack last season with Iowa. Cade Tervier is another tremendous player. 6 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 2 interceptions. You're going to see him at edge a lot. He's a big-time player that shows up in big-time games. Now the best player on the defense side of the ball is linebacker Adam Bach. 125 total tackles, 9.5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 2 interceptions. He's just the star that does it all. NFL people are going to love this kid. He is emerging into a true superstar linebacker at South Dakota State. I think, again, he's one of the best players at the FCS level. I can't stop saying that about numerous players on his team. They're some of the best players at their position. They're some of the best players in the FCS, period. That's scary to think about. And then I'll highlight Dallas Beenum at corner. 4 interceptions. 2 of those went for pick sixes last season. That's a guy who's really blossoming into this lockdown corner that I perceive him to believe. Who knows? Maybe he comes up with an interception against Iowa. Now let's talk about what they're going up against. Iowa. Does the Iowa offense move you? Because it doesn't move me, and it hasn't for a few years. I know I'm not the only one in that boat. Iowa scored 23.4 points per game in 2021. That ranked 99th of 130 teams. Not great. They ran, like I said, very poorly last season. 3.4 yards per carry. They lose Tyler Linderbaum, monster on the offensive line. He's gone. They now need to identify some new true talent on the offensive line. They will. Not worried about that. But in game 1 of their season, can the offensive line mesh and move people in the trenches and get their running attack going? Remains to be seen. And the quarterback, you have Spencer Petras, 57.3% completion rate in 2021, 10 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Eek. He's wildly inconsistent. He'll make questionable read after questionable read. There are some very high highs, but there's too many low lows that it's very hard to get confident in a quarterback like that. And yeah, off the field, I'm a huge fan of the person that Petras is, but at the end of the day, we're talking about the on-field product, and he does not impress me enough. I am very impressed by the Jacks defense. Petras could be in trouble in game 1. I was very fortunate to speak with Tucker Kraft, star tight end on the South Dakota State team, and I told him straight up, like, yo, I think that you guys are going to beat Iowa. And, he answered that great answer, great interview if you want to go check that out.
You can't take us lightly, especially when we're all coming out after camp, and we get the whole entire fall camp to scout them and look at them. And we're running stuff for our defense that, you know, they run, and our defense is running like their defense. They run a pretty standard, you know, basic quarters, cover 4. And our defense and NDSU run that. So we practice against that extensively. So I think we'll be solid.
One thing he pointed to that I want to talk about, he spoke to how well South Dakota State starts seasons. They start very, very well. If you go to 2021 in the fall, they won at Colorado State 42-23, dominated them in every facet in the game. Iowa actually struggled with CSU a lot more. That's a common opponent that they played last year. But after South Dakota State smacked CSU, they dominated the next 3 games for a 4-0 start. In the spring of 2021, they won at number 3 Northern Iowa. They lost week 2 against a top 15 team in the FCS. But then they win their next 3 for a 4-1 start, and they had 2 top 5 FCS wins in their first 5 games. That's substantial. If you look at 2019, they lose at Minnesota 28-21. Minnesota went on to having that 11-2 season. Kraft explains why they really should have won that game. I'll let him do the talking, though. You could go watch it if you want. But South Dakota State ends up starting 6-1, and they only had double-digit wins that year. They start hot, and it's not far-fetched to say that they start hot in Iowa. They're going to beat Iowa. I'm telling you. So at the end of the day, yeah, I'm confident in the Jackrabbits defense to force a few turnovers, create havoc, and make life difficult for that Iowa offense that has been kind of inept at so many times last year. I'm confident in the South Dakota State potent offense to put up strong drives and convert their drives and score points, not just field goals, but touchdowns against a great Iowa defense in a hostile environment. The South Dakota State offense is just flat out better to me than Iowa's. And maybe that's, you know, Iowa players should take that as disrespect. But yes, this FCS team has the better offense, in my opinion. I'm sorry for saying something so controversial, but true. I'm sorry, but it's true at this very moment. And you know what? If North Dakota State was playing Iowa, how many people would say, you know what? I'm picking NDSU to beat Iowa. Why? What's the difference? Because the NDSU brand? How many games and national championships they won? It's just because you see those 4 letters, that NDSU, that logo, that you would go and pick them to beat Iowa. Why not South Dakota State? They're the second best team in the FCS. The drop-off from first to second is not that much at all. South Dakota State, they beat North Dakota State 4 of the last 6 times in the regular season. So why can't the Jacks do this just because they have a cute little Jackrabbit logo and not, you know, an angry bison logo? You should seriously be considering, you know, taking South Dakota State to win this game outright. Well, I'm giving you a lot of reasons why, and I truly could go into a whole speech, like a 1-hour speech on why they could win this game, but well, let's do a short video. So, you know what? Why not the Jacks? Why not? Why can't they win this game? Let's go 28-20. That'll be my score prediction. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's kind of more. I was like 31-20, 3 more points, double-digit win. But yeah, that's the call. I think South Dakota State is going into Iowa State. I think they're winning this game. It's going to be a massive upset to everyone but me and the folks in Brookings, South Dakota. Don't say I told you so. Well, I did tell you so. It's going to look real bad if they lose. But I'm going to take that risk. Jackson win this game.